Hello guys, welcome to Online Web Tutor presented by PHP Frameworks team. I am Sanjay. Inside this video session guys, we will see about details about insert command in MySQL, as well as we'll see that how many ways we have to insert data in our database table. So if we go to the next tab, now about insert command or a statement in MySQL. So here we have written some sort of basic definitions which we have to know while using insert command. So insert command in MySQL is a DML statement. DML stands for data manipulation language. This is a statement or command are used to managing data within tables. So the first point we need to keep in our mind is that insert command is a DML statement. Apart from insert, we have select, update, delete. All are the parts of DML statements. The insert command is used to insert data in a row or let's say new row inside our table. We can see that if we want to insert or add any new data inside our table, we have to use called insert command. Now while inserting the values inside our table, the date value and the string value must be enclosed inside single quotes or double quotes. But while using our numeric values, we don't need actually enclosing brackets. So these are the two lines basically for the values to be inserted in our table. The insert command can also be used to insert data from one table to another table. It simply means that if suppose we have a table and inside that table we have lots of data and we have a history table, if we want to insert to select all the data from the original table and insert into a history table. So while using our basic syntax, we can also use the select statement. While selecting all values, we can insert into a new table. So if you go to the next tab, now here we have some basic syntax while using insert command. Insert into table name, values, and here we have to pass all the values. In syntax 2, insert into table name, here we have to pass the column name, values, and here are the values. What is the difference between syntax 1 and the syntax 2? So while using our syntax 1, we have to pass all the columns, means all the values inside this parenthesis. It means our table contains 10 columns, so we need to specify all the 10 columns right here inside these values. Else, if we are going to use inside syntax 2, then suppose while taking 10 columns, if we want to insert only 3 columns, so we need to specify all the columns here, means like name, email, phone number, and only we need to pass only 3 values inside this parenthesis. Let's see all the actions. So if I back to Chrome browser, now here I have opened a database. You can open any of the database of your PHPMyAdmin. So let's say that inside this database we have a students table, and inside this students table we have some data. Now we are going to use insert command to insert any new data. So go to SQL tab. So I am using, let's say that insert into the table name we have passed. So table name here we have called tbl underscore students. So copy that, pasting it here, and if I write values, and here we have to pass all the column names, means all the column values. So let's say that, and here if I go to the table structure, now inside this structure as we can see that ID is a primary key, name, email, mobile, course, status, and created ad. Now while using these columns, remember this is a primary key, and all these columns like name, email, mobile, and the course, all these values contain default value as null value. Status has a 1, and created ad is default value of current timestamp. So if I back to our insert command, so let's say that I'm going to use called the name value here. So let's say test user, and in the second let's say test at gmail.com. In the third we need to pass the mobile number, so dummy value. In the second, let's say course, so something MCA, and rest like status and the created ad. So we are going to use now function of MySQL, which basically get the current time of this server and insert into the table. Now here we have passed all the column values. Now if I press Ctrl Enter to insert or simply press on Go button, so I am using Ctrl Enter simultaneously and we have some error. So if I scroll down to see the error, and error is at column count does not match the value count at row 1. Simply, as we know that we have, if we count about the column names called ID means 3, 3 6 and 7. 7 columns total we have. Now inserting, while inserting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and the 6, it means also we have to pass the primary key. So as we know that this is auto increment, so we are going to use null here. So simply we have passed all the 7 columns while inserting into the table. So if I again press Ctrl Enter, and as we can see that one column has been inserted. So go inside the table, click on the browse, ignore all, and at the last, as we can see that test user has been inserted. So this is about the first basic conception of insert command in MySQL. So while using this syntax means syntax 1, actually we need to pass all the columns inside this values. Now while using second insert command, if I back to Chrome browser, go to SQL. Now let's say that I'm not going to pass all the column names inside the insert command. So how can we make insertions? So insert into table name we have called DML students. Now inside this parenthesis, actually we need to pass the column names. So I'm going to insert only inside this name, email, and let's say mobile, and finally for the course column means from these 7 columns I am to insert only 4 columns. Now values, inside this let's say that test user 2. Here we need to pass the email address, so testuser2@gmail.com. Next we have to pass the mobile number, this is the mobile number, and course let's say about BTech. Now if I press Ctrl Enter, remember from these 7 columns we have passed only 4 columns, so that we have to specify the column names here inside this parenthesis. So if I press Ctrl Enter, now again we have some error, and this is a known column phone. If I check about the column names, and the column name we have called mobile, so we need to write mobile as instead of phone. Ctrl Enter, and the column has been inserted. So again if I click on browse, check about the new row insertion, and at the last we can see that test user 2 information has been inserted. Now we had seen about the second syntax to insert data inside this table. So again go inside the SQL tab. Now let's see that how can we insert multiple values inside our database table at a single time. So if I write something insert into the table we have called DML students, and the column we want something name, email, mobile, and for the course, and let's say that values, okay, and the first core values we are going to insert about, let's say that user1 something, let's say user1@gmail.com. Here we have to pass the mobile number, dummy value, and the course, let's say about course 1. Now this is all about the first row insertion. If we want to insert about multiple rows to be inserted, so in the same syntax we need to copy this line, putting comma here and pasting it here. So it should be user2 here, and the dummy mobile number, let's say something here, and the course too. If we want to insert one more row, so again we have to copy, putting comma here and pasting it here. So this is all about user 3 here. This is our mobile number and the course 3. Again so on. If we want to insert multiple rows, again with the same procedure we can copy and paste and actually change all the values. So if I press Ctrl Enter, now 3 rows has been inserted as we can see here. Back to our table, click on the browse. Now inside this list we can find about the details of user 1, user 2 and the user 3. It means that we have done about the multiple insertion at a single command. This is what actually we have used to insert multiple rows by using our syntax 2. If we want to use about the syntax 1, we can do also with the same procedure. Go to SQL tab. The same we have to repeat, called insert into table something DML students, writing values, and here we have to pass the name something like the first value we want about the null. This is all about null. In the second name, in the next we have to pass the email address to name@gmail.com. So this is a varchar, so we need to write into double quotes, so name@gmail.com. In the third we want, with the next we want about the mobile number. Next we want about the course. In the next we want about status value and about the current time. So this is all about row 1 insertion. Again we want to insert like row 2, again putting comma here, copy the row. If I make some formatting here, this is row 1, again putting row 2, again putting something row 3. Now let's change about name to something name2@gmail.com. This is mobile number, codes let's say 101, it's name3 @gmail.com, dummy mobile number 103. Now all we are going to insert about 3 different rows by using our syntax 1. So if I press Ctrl Enter, now 3 rows has been inserted. Back to our table, click on browse. Now as we can see that name, name2, name3, all 3 different rows has been inserted. Now let's say that we are going to make a history table, so copy the table name, go to SQL tab, and firstly let's say so create table, and the table name we have called DML students. Control Enter, go to options, click on full text, click on go. Now this is the table syntax. It means if we want to create table like DML students, this is the command actually we need to execute. So copy this command, go to SQL tab, pasting it here, and I'm going to create a table called DML_students history, and it will contains all the columns what we have inside DML_students. Now the same table we need to create, but the table name inside this case about history. So if I press Ctrl Enter, now the table has been created. Go to database. Now these 2 tables we have. Right now as we can see that inside this first table we have 16 rows. Now inside the second table means history, we have no data. So let's say that I'm going to select all the data from this table and insert inside this history table. So how can we insert that? So go to SQL tab. Now let's say that insert into DML_history, and we have to select all the values from DML_students. So let's say select all from something DML_students. Now this is the simple command that we need to execute. Means we are going to insert into history table. Also we are selecting all the data from this table. So if I press Ctrl Enter, now 16 rows has been inserted. If I back to table, now inside this history table we have all the data what we have inside our TBL underscore students. Now we have successfully dumped inside this history table. So behind the scene, let's understand about what this command basically did. So if I copy, go to SQL tab, pasting it here. Now this is the select statement, meant it has selected all the columns and inserted inside this table, and the table has, as we know, that the same column it contains. Now let's say that if we go to move operations, I'm to truncate this table firstly about TBL and history. Now right now we have no data inside this history table. Now I'm going to create an insertion. So name, let's say abc at gmail.com. This is our mobile number, code something MCA, and rest has its default value. So if I press Ctrl Enter, successfully one row has been inserted. Now right now inside the history table, the first record we have with the auto increment ID is 1. Now as we know that the ID is a primary key, it means that inside this table, second row we can insert, but the ID is different, means it should be auto increment, no duplicate entry with this ID 1. Now inside this table means our TBL students. Now inside this table we have the entry of 1. Now let's say that we are going to select all the data and insert into this table. So as we know, we have inside this table as we have ID 1 and we have ID 1. So what error basically we get? So if we open SQL tab, now let's say that insert into TBL underscore students history, let's say select all from TBL underscore students. Now if I press Ctrl Enter, now we have some error. Error is that duplicate entry 1 for primary key. It means that we are going to insert the duplicate entry inside this table. Why the error has came? The error came, it's because that we have ID 1. It is selecting ID 1 from this table and trying to insert inside this table, but this table already have ID 1 value. So that's why we are getting error. Now how can we resolve that error? So to resolve that, simply we need to write the column names here. Something we want name, email, mobile, and the course, and we need to select only 4 columns for this table. So let's say that name, email, mobile, and the course. Now inside this select command or inserting any new row inside our table, we don't need actually the ID. So if I press Ctrl Enter, now 16 rows has been inserted and one more row inside this table. So total number of records 16 we have, 17. Now this is what actually we had seen, that this is our first insertion. Now the row actually we have selected from this table is now inserted from the second number ID. Now these are the ways, by the help of these ways actually we can insert any new row inside our table. Now we have one more way to insert that, and that is the last way. So if we click on SQL tab, now let's say that insert into TBL students, let's say set name equal to, and let's say about, let's say user 100, email we want something, let's say user 100 at gmail.com. now let's say mobile equal to, this is mobile number, and course equal to, let's say course 1001. Now this is the another way to use about the insert command and insert data inside our table. So this time we're going to insert inside this table TBL students, pressing Ctrl Enter. Now we have one more row inside this table. Click on browse. Now if we check about the last entry, and this is our last entry. So successfully guys, inside this video we had seen about the ways to insert any new row inside our table. Also we had seen about some basic statements or the basic command like description of insert command in MySQL. So inside this video session guys, if you went out, then please drop your comment. I will give my reply as soon as possible. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.